that's exactly the point. It's a nonsense to come back in a few years' time and buy land. The developers have gone ahead and developed because we now decided that it's come over the list. It's come over the line on our list of things to do on the project. And
I don't think it's legal to go through, spend all that money without going through an annual plan process.
Well, I'm going to actually, unless there's anybody else wants, Ross, Councillor Clyde.
I must admit I am a bit concerned with several of the speakers, but in clause 42, the Mayor, because it's the Mayor's report, and he's obviously put up the original resolution, and now he's seconding an amendment which tightens it to public transport or aligns more to public transport. Yeah. So how can that be? Would be one question. And then I'm proposing to deal with this request as follows: allow an additional 30 and further 40. This will allow us to maintain our debt to revenue ratios. I would have thought that would have made them deteriorate.
No, it's actually referring, just briefly, Madam Chair, because it's a comment directed at me. It's rather than accept the 80 and 210. So basically, not only not exceeding one or two of the requests in there, but trying to keep it at a level where it doesn't compromise our debt to equity ratios. Through you, Madam Chair, could the Mayor just could you just explain why you're happy to second this tweaking? Because it states the obvious. Quite frankly, we do have a stronger focus on public transport, and that's how strategic. It actually just reiterates our strategic direction. And secondly, it is up to, in the end, they may spend nothing of it.
Exactly.
They may spend 30, but they won't spend above that. So, my overarching desire is, having received this a little late myself, and so I understand Councillor Casey's concerns, I'm also aware of the fact that we've got a tiger by the tail and we need to actually move pretty quickly as a city, and that has been our problem in the past. And so we've been asked to do that, and I'd encourage you to do that, but I don't want to lose people in a debate over semantics.
You're not going to lose me over semantics, but I think it's highly unusual.
I'm not actually addressing you. I'm addressing Chris.
The board.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if there's no other discussion, I'm going to put the amendment
by division.
By division.
Madam Chair.
Sorry. Councillor Fletcher.
I can't let it be said that this hasn't gone through the board. There is no board resolution, but there has been general discussion, as explained by the Chief Financial Officer of Auckland Transport, and I wish to record my support for what he said, and that is sometimes the way that Auckland Transport Board deals with things. Not every single, it's slightly different in the way that the minutes and things are recorded. So I would not want councillors and members of the Independent Māori Statutory Board sitting here thinking, this has not gone through the board. This has been canvassed by the board. The way there can then be perhaps a disconnect in the way that it's actually come before the full council, but it has actually been before the board, and I am completely agnostic about the projects that we are discussing there. They are the strategic priorities that this council has identified. So I think it's really important for the record that that stands, and we support our officer on that, because that is my very strong recollection. Unfortunately, we work on board books and I don't have them here today. Otherwise, I would quote to you directly from my record of the proceedings, but I do not have that here.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. That's very clear. Councillor Lee.
I don't want to get into a debate on this or to openly disagree with Councillor Fletcher. I stand by my earlier remarks, but the most important thing actually is not whether it has been through the board. Put it this way, there is no board resolution for a $300 million ask.
And we're not
That's what was.
for
But the second point is, the most important thing, it hasn't been through our annual plan. That's the most important thing.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. I'm going to put the amendment by division. Thank you, Mike.
Your Worship.
Aye.
Councillor Nye.
Aye.
Councillor Brewer.
No.
Councillor Casey.
No.
Councillor Cashmore.
Aye.
Councillor Clow.
Aye.
Councillor Cooper.
No.
Councillor Darby.
Four.
Councillor Filipaina.
Aye.
Councillor Fletcher.
4.
Deputy Mayor Hulse.
Aye.
Councillor Crum.
No.
Councillor Lee.
No.
Councillor Penrose.
Yes.
Councillor Quacks.
No.
Councillor Stewart.
No.
Member Taipari.
4.
Member Tamahiri.
4.
Councillor Sir John Walker.
Yes.
Councillor Wayne Walker.
Yes.
Councillor Watson.
Yes.
Councillor Wood.
No.
Chair Webster.
Yes. Thank you. That now becomes a substantive motion. So we've got B 1, 2, amended 3, 4, 5 to do with transport. I could put in C and D as well, if councillors are happy with that. Councillor Darby.
Madam Chair, I spoke to that particular amendment. I want to speak briefly to the amendments, or the recommendations that require us to fund the fare concessions. And I just want to point out that I think this has been extremely mean-spirited of the government. This is another example where a decision is made in Wellington and it impacts the purses of everybody that lives in Auckland straight away. And this is an impact of 0.1% on the rate strike that we will arrive at the end of this meeting and the governing body meeting. This Wellington decision has an impact on every family that uses concession fares, yes, but particularly our seniors. And I don't think the government has quite got the positive impact that these concessions have on seniors. They actually get seniors out moving the hips and the knees, and I think if they had have consulted the health department prior to making their decision, they would have maybe got a different position if they had have listened to them. People are out there socialising, they're out there spending, and I think there's nothing healthier than a society that's on the move, meeting each other, and particularly seniors, getting healthy. And we all know there's stacks of evidence on public transport contributing to societal health and physical health. So it's 0.1%. At the end of the day, it is an extra 0.1% that is coming our way from a mean-spirited government that saved itself, 3 million. We're putting in an extra 1.5, and we're telling Richard's organisation to go and find the 1.5. And we know how hard that is out of OPEX. They are we've put the thumb on Auckland Transport on OPEX, and this is another squeeze on that, thanks to Wellington. That's the point I wanted to make.
Madam Chair, I just want to add my comments, which I made when we workshopped this. But I really, I applaud this council for taking time to allow more policy work to be developed on this. As I expressed earlier, when you actually look at the analysis of those seniors that are using this, many of them are being caregivers for grandchildren. Many of them are going to take part in activities in the voluntary sector. This is a really complex issue, and I think that it should be carefully traversed with central government, because nobody wants any unintended effects as a result of cutting this off. So I just thank those members of this committee who have actually supported it getting it to this point, and I hope that it can be supported by all.
Thank you. And I think D is what covers some of what the two of you are talking about. Councillor Walker.
Yeah, I just want to speak to this as well. I agree with Councillor Darby. It's absolutely mean-spirited. We're on track through the hot card to actually widen concessions. if you go to other cities, they'll have a maximum that you pay for the day, for example. That's how you get people using public transport. And you also target youth that need to travel, you target seniors that need to travel, and you target off-peak. So, frankly, the government hasn't got it. They don't seem to understand that the solution to Auckland's transport is getting people out of cars onto public transport, and that it is the seniors, in many respects, that are leading the way. They haven't got it, and they need to get on board. My concern is that, as a council, we're not taking it to them. We're not being firm enough in pushing back to them, and we need to.
Thank you. I'm going to put those B 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and C and D. Can I put it by voices? All those in favour? Aye. Against? Thank you very much, councillors. Right, moving on to E. Now, I do have some amendments. I have an amendment we've done that one.
Wayne will second that one.
Right.
I can't even read it right now.
We have. The first amendment's from Councillor Clow, seconded by Councillor Crum, as an amendment to recommend that the governing body that the Chief Executive, Group Chief Financial Officer and Chair of Finance and Performance be authorised to draw down, if required, up to 100 million per annum on the diversified financial asset portfolio. Would you like to talk to that, Councillor Clow?
No, I just think it's prudent to add the 2 extra people, and if required, just tightens it up.
Okay, Councillor Crum?
No,
Same reason?
echo the
Okay.
same 2 years.
Councillor Wayne Walker?
Sure, have a question, and I'd like to know how the diversified financial asset portfolio has been performing recently. I understand that there's a long-term average in terms of return, but over the last, say, 3 years, what kind of return have we been getting on our investment in percentage terms?
Can we discuss that after this is really quite specific. This is not about the diversified financial asset portfolio as such. We can have that discussion later. That's just widening the number of people that can sign it off. Okay?
Point of order, Madam Chair. I'll be voting against it because it is about the Diversified Assets Fund, so it probably needs to come after the first vote. It does.
Well, no, because in the first, the vote, it's just a minor amendment to E.
It needs to come after the vote about the Diversified Assets Fund. If it goes through, then this one can possibly go through as well. If it doesn't go through, then there isn't any need to set up a committee of any kind.
Okay, what do I do? Is that right or not?
Absorb it into the substantive.
If we, can I have some advice on this? If we pass E, it's only the group financial officer, so we wouldn't be able to add anybody else. What?
That's right. You have to take the adding other 2.
Yes, I know, but what we're talking about in this one, it's just...
Madam Chair, isn't this about the decision on the diversified financial asset portfolio?
It is.
Isn't this the decision?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it is, because
So
it
my question,
authorises...
Okay, yes, sorry.
Ross is adding in the names of those guys
All right,
on the basis
okay,
that
it is.
they will
Yes.
agree up to 100 mil.
Okay. 3 o'clock. Okay, all right, so
Good, Madam Chair.
go, Wayne.
Well,
You've
I
done
can
it.
repeat myself. I want to know how well the fund has done or not in percentage terms, say over the last 3 years.
Okay, thank you, Matthew, or somebody.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm happy to answer. If it's not sufficiently specific, we can get Andrew John to come forward as well. So, strong markets over the last 3 to 5 years. The portfolio has been performing absolutely in line with markets. In the reference document, we've explained that it's got an average over the last 5 years of about just over 9% per annum. What you will then see in the last couple of quarters is a bit more of a bumpy ride, and I think for the 6 months year to date, it's running negative 2% positive.
Positive 2%.
Yeah, so for the 6 months year to date, it's running about 2%. But, you know, you've got to be a bit careful to look backwards on these things because that's already done.